I try.
You did a good job.
Okay.
That should work. Yep. There we go.
Are you live with us now?
I'm with us now. Yeah.
Well, welcome, Alan. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining.
I'm back.
We
There
missed
go.
you.
Yeah.
The openings and closings were very awkward without you.
They're not awkward. I fill in Alan's part just fine, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do.
Identity theft is not a joke, guys. Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, but that movie is. That movie.
Yeah. Fair. Hey everybody, welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today Ryan's having me watch more horror movies. I think I didn't get enough of that this weekend. Today we're talking about the 2019 film Velvet Buzzsaw, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo. Before we get into that, yeah, I missed last week. How'd it go?
Let's not tell him. Ryan, don't tell him. Let it be a mystery. Make him listen to it.
I am not doing this. It went well. There was some technical difficulties, but I was able to get my internet back online, and I got back on.
Yeah.
Devin did a great job covering as a host.
I don't know why I waved. I just waved. I felt like it was necessary.
I did my normal role where I just kind of am part of the
You
atmosphere.
show up. You show up.
I show up. I show up.
Listen, it was... I don't think that you've seen this movie, Alan. It was a heck of a movie. It wasn't what I was expecting at all with Lords of Salem.
Well,
It's what I was expecting.
yeah. Well, let's talk about it a little bit, because we had Josh on to talk about the Horrific Hope Film Festival, which is the reason I didn't watch anything new this weekend. I was at the Horrific Hope Film Festival. Got to meet a lot of cool filmmakers and fans and people from Victims who I've never met. Like, I met their editor-in-chief. I was like, "You're taller than I expected." Because I always ever see Cam on webcam. But yeah, I got to see a few of the shorts and a feature, which I think is right up your alley, Devin. So it's called Searching for Vesselme, and it's a Norwegian mockumentary making fun of true crime docs.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Is this the guy that flew in from Norway? Because Josh was telling us about him. That's amazing. Yes. I have to watch this.
They were delightful. Tom and Ian were both delightful. It was a great time. My brother-in-law Solomon came out and helped out and hung out. It was a great time overall. I got to see a few shorts, like I said. And I got to see my first Rob Zombie movie, which was House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, Alan,
yeah.
How was it?
I lived. As we walked out, Josh was like, "So you're gonna watch the sequels?" I was like, "They made sequels to that?"
Hold on, what are they? I didn't know they made sequels. What are the sequels called? Is it House of 2000 Corpses?
The Devil's Rejects.
Yep.
Which I had heard of.
Oh.
And kind of knew that it was a sequel, but wasn't sure. And then 3 from Hell.
Haven't heard of that one either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't want to hurt Josh's feelings too much because I really bombed on this movie in front of him. But the reason why I've never I told Josh that it was it's Rob Zombie's really not my guy, and it's because I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, and I realized I'm not watching another thing from this guy ever. And watching Lords of Salem just put the dot on the end of that sentence of, I should have stayed away from everything else he made.
My favorite bit about that was a night after we recorded the podcast, Romana was vaguely around during me watching Lords of Salem, and she's like, "What is this? Why is this so weird?" We were working out, and Dragula from Rob Zombie came on, and I went, "Hey, Romana, this guy directed the movie." She's like, "No, he didn't." It's
No.
Yeah, this is the same one.
This is what you do now. Watch Rob Zombie's Monsters, but don't tell her it's Rob Zombie, and be like, "This is the same guy."
Hold on, is Rob Zombie's Monsters actually good? Because I loved Monsters growing up. Damn it!
If you liked it growing up, I'm sure you'll like it because it's very much in that same vein.
Okay, cool. Because that was my show growing up.
Yeah, it's not like Herman Munster bursts through the door and starts killing people with a chainsaw.
Okay.
Although I'd watch that.
Oh, at least he still burst through the door. That was like childhood. Perfect.
But like every year for the film festival, I came back with prizes and presents that we will be giving away on the show throughout the next year.
What did you come back with?
Are we allowed to know? What do you think I came back with? Take a guess, Devin. What did I come back with? I've sent you pictures of some of the things I've come back with. What did I come back with, Devin?
The movie posters.
I got some movie posters. I made a friend with a projectionist at the Alamo Draft House.
Well done.
We had a 20-minute conversation about movie posters, and I educated him on the Star Wars sequels teaser posters, because there's a Easter egg in there's like an Easter egg / typo with them, that if you put the Force Awakens teaser poster that just says Star Wars The Force Awakens over the stars, like that's what the poster is. They released the same one for The Last Jedi, but it says The Last Jedi. They line up perfectly. The Rise of Skywalker poster, when you put them next to it, the text that says Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is like 2 inches higher and a little bit smaller. And he had 2 posters in between the Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. But he after I pointed out, I was like, oh my God, you're right. That's ridiculous. But he showed me some of his personal collection that he had included in the walls. He's like, I'm up here all the time. I wanted it to look good. So he had a Matrix Reloaded poster, which was pretty cool. He had a Return of the King double-sided poster that had just fallen and torn, and he was like heartbroken about it.
Aww. But
right now on my wall, I have the present he gave me, which was the teaser poster for The Flash, with the Flash in the Batcave with Michael Keaton's Batwing hanging.
You showed me this one.
It's amazing.
It is very cool. Does he have like as large a collection as you? Like, did you find a fellow like movie poster aficionado?
If we're counting all the posters on those walls as his collection's way bigger than mine.
Wow.
Because the ones that he gets in for the Alamo just go up on the wall to decorate it, because there's just black walls. So the walls are lined with movie posters. So going back to like 2008.
What was the movie poster for the worst movie you saw?
The worst movie I saw? Oh, man.
You're asking a guy who doesn't like horror movies to name the worst movie he saw at a horror movie film festival.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Oh God, there was one I was like, why would you hang that one up? But I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if there's any of those where you're like, that would not need to go to the bathroom.
Those ones didn't stick out to me. Those ones didn't stick out to me as much as the ones of, I want that poster. Like the chef poster with Jon Favreau and the food truck. I want that.
That's a good one.
Like every MCU poster. We filmed a thing in the green room, and I was like, maybe we shouldn't have that poster behind you, Josh, and just moved over a foot to the left, and cropped it out a bit.
What was the poster?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, great. We'll talk about it. Gross.
But yeah, it was a good time. Looking forward to it again next year. We were proud to be sponsors of it, and congratulations to the winner of the Freddy Krueger new Nightmare figure that we donated. Yeah. I hope you enjoy it. And
I'm really jealous.
To the person who won the person who won the animated Beetlejuice that I bought on the way there, you're welcome to.
Where did you find that? You were just like, I have this now. I'm like, okay.
We had some time to kill before the film festival. Well, before dinner, because we all met up for dinner beforehand. So Solomon and I went to the mall and just killed time and went into one of those game and toy stores and found that. So I was like, that's kind of cool, and that got a lot of tickets too. So yeah,
that's very cool. Which one got more tickets, the Beetlejuice or the Freddy?
It was very close. It was very close.
I like that. Good competition.
Yeah. All right. I think that does it for we watched this, because you guys told me you didn't watch anything. I will be watching a lot this week over on Brilliant But Lazy. Josh and I will be talking about the Mandalorian season finale, the Power Rangers special that comes out tomorrow, and then the Picard season finale, which Ryan knows, because he was here when I put it out. If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
Nope, no idea. Literally none.
Yeah. Yeah. Devin, you should watch season 3 of Picard. It's that simple. Maybe watch more TNG or go back and watch the TNG movies if you don't want to dedicate yourself to the whole whole series.
Now listen, I mentioned this a little bit last time. I don't think Ryan's broken the news to you, but I just got Paramount Plus. I am now walking my way through things that I have missed.
Okay.
One of those things is Frasier. Delightful, absolutely delightful. And there's a lot of Star Trek on there.
Yeah.
All of the movies are on there. If it happens to pop on, I won't be so mad. I just have to finish this season of Love is Blind.
Jeez. Put a pin in that for a second, because I do want to talk about that. One of the best things I like about Paramount Plus and why it's the app I go to on default now is because it has the live channels, and I hope you have those over there too.
We do, yeah. We have the live channels as well.
If I can't decide what I want to watch, it's either I can guarantee at night there's a Star Trek Next Generation episode or Frasier on, and I will just watch those. The one day it was Frasier, and I was able to go through my Frasier script book and follow along with the episodes because it had like all the episodes from the book in order. And I was like, this is fantastic.
It's very fun.
All right. So I want to talk about Love is Blind for a second.
Here we go. Pull the pin out.
Because it made the news this week.
Did
about the reunion.
About how bad the issues were with it's streaming.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a live reunion.
Yeah, and they ended up not. Yeah, they ended up not going live. Did you try to watch it live or not?
I didn't know. I was busy during that time. But you know what? I'm proud of us for doing this, and they couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Better than Love is Blind.
I saw a notification from the BBC that there was some event on Netflix that was supposed to go live and there were major disruptions, and I'm like, that's weird for the BBC to talk about this. I wonder what that was about, and I just ignored it.
Okay.
Oh, it's about Love is Blind.
Not only can we live stream like Netflix can't, but now Ryan and I can also exchange DVDs unlike Netflix because they just canceled that service now too.
Wait, is that? I thought that was done for years.
They still had it, but they're closing it down finally.
Oh man,
Devin, you're in trouble. You watched the D&D movie and you didn't bring it to the show?
You watched it already, and we already talked about it.
We could talk about what you thought of it. Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? It's not just what did Alan think of the thing he saw in theaters show.
I didn't want to repeat this for a minute. Listen,
okay.
I love.
You can be vague.
Movie.
Okay.
No, this movie was wonderful. It was so much fun. Did chat get me in trouble, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, chat. Thanks for getting me in trouble. I loved the D&D movie. Absolutely loved it. I think the absolute best part of it was Hugh Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hands down. The whole cast was really good, and it took me until a day after I watched the movie to realize that the tiefling was the girl from It.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't realize that during the time. Apparently, the horns just completely threw me off her scent.
So one of the posters I got at the Alamo this weekend was the D&D poster.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I was going to keep it. Cam, who was there working the event, he did the Brilliant but Lazy with me where we talked about Dungeons and Dragons, and he plays D&D, and I was like, "Do you want this?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll take that." So,
aww. Well, the thing I liked about the movie is it focused a lot less on what people think. I'll just put this to me. What people think I like about D&D, I don't like the lore. It's not that I don't like it. I don't care about it. I don't care about the lore. I don't care that Waterdeep is actually technically 8.7 miles away from Frog. I don't really care. What I care about is the fun that happens. And this movie just kind of used D&D as the backdrop, these places that if you've played the games, as a backdrop for just a very fun movie. And that's the kind of stuff that I like I don't play D&D often, but if I ever play it, it's more the fun that I remember and remember this joke or this silly thing than I remember this villain came from the 8th circle of I don't care. I don't care about that.
Nice.
Ryan, will you see the D&D movie? Can we convince
Eventually.
you now? Yeah,
I mean, I
okay.
will eventually. It's just not right now.
Have any of you ever played D&D? Am I the only one?
I've played the Star Wars equivalent of it.
I'm trying to think of a funny. I got nothing on that. No joke.
I think I have maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Great. Did you love it?
I'm debating whether or not it was a tabletop game. Regardless, I don't know if it was Dungeons and Dragons esque, but it was a tabletop game.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's totally fair.
All right. On that note, Ryan, did you go to the movies and see anything recently that your wife needs to jump in the chat and tell us about?
I didn't go to the movies to see anything, but I finally watched the 2015 remake of Poltergeist.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let's move on to today's main topic.
It's actually not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad. I mean, I do not recommend anyone who has never seen the original to watch it.
Okay.
Devin, have you seen the original?
No.
I love the original. Have you seen it, Alan?
No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, well, that's going on the list now, too.
Yeah.
If you've seen the original and you watch the remake, it's pretty much just like, oh, look, they're really doing a good job mirroring the original one. And then you throw a comedic actor in there to play the father, and it turns kind of into a lighthearted comedy. Yeah. So I enjoyed it.
Weird.
All right. Cool. Let's move on to today's main topic, the 2019 film Velvet Buzzsaw, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Toni Collette, and Rene Russo.
Okay.
And John Malkovich.
Mm-hmm.
You need to keep that up.
Yeah. So this is a movie that I'd never heard of before. And Kristen, it was one of those movies that Kristen was like, hey, I watched a movie. I think you'll like this. And this normal routine that she does that I've been explaining. And I'll just cut down to how she sold me on it. And I was like, well, what's it really about? Because I'm like, art, horror? I'm like, that's really not that interesting to me. And she goes, you like the menu, right? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, it's the menu for art critics. I'm like, yes. So I watched it.
No, she's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. So, like I said, I had no idea about this movie until recently. I was debating whether or not I wanted to be this, we watch this segment, or if I just wanted you guys to watch it. And I just opted on having you guys just watch it. I went to a VOTEC when I was in high school, and I took graphic design, commercial art classes. And I've always been interested in the art spectrum. So the whole art critic thing is, to me, kind of like, when you get to this level that this movie depicts, it's kind of a joke to me, because again, it's like the whole food critic thing. It's like, I get that people want to know that in depth about stuff, and for selling and this and that, but to me, it's just like, come on, you're acting like a fool. And I loved the classic supernatural horror in this. And I thought you guys would benefit from watching it, either one way or the other. So I enjoyed it. It's not the best horror movie I've seen, but it definitely has a unique feel to it that I would recommend to anyone who's interested in horror. So who wants to go first on your guys' first little blurb about it?
I'll go first because I missed a week. Next year when we have the Horrific Hope Film Festival, let's not do a horror movie. Alan needs a break after the horror. I can only do so much horror, guys.
It's my choice next, right? Because you'll be getting a break.
Okay. Yeah. It was fine. I knew about this movie. Like, I remember when the trailer came out.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a horror movie though back then. So I enjoyed parts of it. I don't want to say that I hate the art critic world when we're going to be sitting here talking about art and critiquing it. Because that's kind of what we do, dude. But no,
guys are critics. I'm just explaining my opinion.
Yeah. But no, I thought this was interesting. I wasn't excited for it until I saw the director's name. I think he was the writer too. Dan Gilroy. because I looked him up and I saw something on his IMDb. I was like, oh, now I'm intrigued. And if you look at his IMDb, he wrote for Andor.
Did he write like the good episodes everyone loves?
No, he wrote the episodes that are like the heist episodes.
Oh, that's cool.
But they're still good. Like that show overall is fairly strong. So, but yeah, that's my thought of it. It was good. It was okay.
Listen, for me, I love the cast. I love the cast. I love the fact that Toni Collette, John Malkovich, and Daveed Diggs are in a movie together. It charmed me so much. I could have watched probably like 3 hours of Jake Gyllenhaal just being sassy in front of different paintings. Like, I didn't even need the rest of the movie. I was fine with the first bit. I firmly don't believe this is a horror movie. Like, in the same way that I would never like describe The Menu as a horror movie to someone. Okay. And now that I know that your wife called it The Menu, but for art critics, yeah. Because I'm thinking about the movie after I watched it. Like, this movie has the same opinion of modern art that I do, and I like where it lands in its message on like the meaning of art and why people do it and what the industry's become. Like, yeah. I think that's what I took away from the movie more than like, wasn't it cool that time that person died? Which is like what I take away from most other horror movies.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where Jake Gyllenhaal's character is what sold me on this as well. And when I was doing research on this, I found out that the director handed him the script, and Jake Gyllenhaal came up with everything about this character.
Wow.
And the director let him have it, like just like create the character's walk, the way he talks, even down to a car he drove in the movie. They let him pick. And I actually his character is one of my two favorites in the movie, simply because of his like I hate using this term, but it's the only thing I can think of right now. Like coming to Jesus moment. Like he actually has that in this movie where he realizes, crap, like I love art and I've just been destroying it my entire career. And now because I'm involved in this industry, that's basically turned art into this weird stock market. Like, I've got to, try to save my life. And he ends up getting, and this movie's been out for about 4 years. It's got under a 6 point. It's got a 5.7 on IMDb. So I'm just going to get right into spoilers on this one. If you guys are okay with that.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay. So, and he ends up getting killed by a piece that he critiques at the very opening of the movie, which I loved that. I love the way that worked, and I love the way that balanced out. A person that I was not expecting to see in this, and I do not know her name, even though I probably should, is the actress from Stranger Things.
Oh,
that came out in 2016. And hang on, I've got my years crossed with a different movie. But so I was happy to see that she's, taking roles like this and trying to branch out from the whole like Stranger Things character that she's pretty much known for. I like it when I see actors do stuff like this. So
meanwhile, Bobby Brown is just getting married to Bon Jovi's, so
yeah,
she's gonna be part of your family. Do you know that?
Yeah, like extended family. Like it's out there.
Invite her on this.
Yes, I think we'll be able to get her with our 10 views per episode.
I think we will. 100% we will. So this Ryan reminded me of something that Netflix did. There was an era of Netflix, right, where Netflix almost acted like Disney Channel in the early 2000s, where there were like Netflix stars that you would see kind of popping up in different like Netflix originals, and I think they were doing that with Natalia Dyer in this, because this is a Netflix original. She was also on Stranger Things, and she was on a couple of other things as well. And they did this also with it was the lady from Hill House. If you guys have seen that, it's Victoria Pedretti.
Yeah.
She's in a lot of Netflix stuff as well. And you could tell that Netflix was very much like, okay, here are our people. We're going to get them in a lot of things. And I feel like they've put a stop to that recently. And that's a shame because I like those actors.
Netflix as a whole is changing how they do things. They're cutting back on their spending. So you're going to see a lot less Netflix originals. The other thing that they're doing is they just ordered their first pilot. Usually with Netflix, it's straight to series orders, but they ordered a pilot and are doing a pilot season this year. So
interesting. I mean, maybe they should, because there were so many that they just go straight to series and then end after series like season 1, and we're like, well, what was the rest of this? Why did we watch this?
The other Netflix connection for me was Tom Sturridge, who plays John Don in this.
Oh yeah,
he's Sandman. He's Morpheus. So
he is. That's right.
Which is the only thing I've seen him in outside of the Sandman. So.
Well, I'm glad that I could expand the horizon for that actor for you, Alan. It's very rare that I'm the one doing this. It's very rare that.
And then there's John Malkovich.
What a treasure of a man.
What did you think? Okay, so one of the aspects of this movie, and this gets to John Malkovich's character, plus the actor, Devin, you named him, the one that was part of the Art Collective.
David Diggs.
Yeah. So those two characters in this movie, I loved the juxtaposition between them and the art dealers, and how the pieces from this Val Dees character, this guy that made these paintings, and that's a real name, by the way. I've got a little thing to explain about that. That's a real person's name. But anyway, this Val Dees character, he made these art pieces. He was trying to destroy them before he died. He failed. He died before he could destroy them. And a character finds the pieces, finds out that they're going to get destroyed. She steals them and takes them to another character who puts them into circulation. Mm-hmm. I loved the reaction of the true artists were truly touched and affected by the pieces. They didn't care about the financial value of the pieces. It inspired them to get back into their style of art, or just get back to working on the pieces, and it positively affected them. But everyone who tried to gain by these pieces financially, we're all killed off by, we're going to assume the spirit of the insanity of Valdez because of the time he spent in like an insane asylum. He was abused as a child. They allude that he had killed people that he'd worked with, but they can never prove it. And that they were going to out this information and completely disvalue the artwork, because nobody would have wanted it at that point. But the Von Don character, he's the first one to go. And at the very beginning of this movie, during the opening credit scenes, they show like a bunch of like live art. And in that live art in the opening is 3 deaths of the 3 main people that die. As far as I'm concerned, the 3 main people that die throughout the movie. And he's the first one that they show in that art scene of like the art style of showing how they die. I thought it was great that like you've got a character that's so vain and so focused on money, and he dies technically in a dingy attic. I just thought that was perfect.
Oh yeah.
What did you guys think of, now to trail back because I kind of went on a tangent there a little bit, what did you guys think of how they portrayed how the different characters reacted to the art?
Devin, go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, it's really like, I mean, the movie definitely comes down with an opinion on how art should be appreciated. The people that looked at the art and went, I see meaning behind this. It has positively impacted my life, or it has impacted me in some way, shape, or form. And I understand the art behind the art had good things happen to them. The people that were like, ooh, money, 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 like had bad things happen to them. And that was like all the commentary in the movie there. And I loved that.
Yeah.
It's like, like, I was at an art gallery not too long ago, and I like you can only emotionally connect with so many paintings before you're like, all right, it's a landscape. All right, it's another landscape. All right, it's a third landscape. Like I don't have enough emotions in me to emotionally connect with every single piece of art. So I love the fact that they highlighted that like that's what art's supposed to do for you. And it's not supposed to be something where you're like, oh, it's pretty, it goes on my wall, it makes it so it's not bare and empty and white like this one.
Yeah, I appreciated the different takes on it because each personality in here is different. Whether it's Natalie Dyer, who is like the assistant who keeps going around from person to person to person as everyone dies. Like part of me was expecting it to be her behind the whole thing at the
Oh,
by
that's
the
my
end.
headcanon. Stupid
but-
Michiganders.
Yeah, I like how the film takes that stance against the art for art's sake and the art for money stance, because it's like, Devin, you talked about like looking at different paintings and not getting an emotional reaction out of all of them. Like I feel like the same could be said for movies. Like I'm not going to emotionally connect to everything. Like I definitely did not emotionally connect in a positive way to House of a Thousand Corpses, but I saw it and I can appreciate the work that went into it. Like I can appreciate Rainn Wilson in that. But it doesn't have to. It's not something I'm going to hang on my wall. But there are things that I do emotionally connect with, like Spider-Man 2, that I will hang on my wall, or that I'm looking forward to, like The Flash, or that my wife likes, like Batman Returns, that I can see behind my screen here. So yeah, like for me, like the emotional connection to art is through movies. Like that's how I decorate. Like my office is full of movie posters because that's the art that I like. Like it reminds me of those movies. I'll look at a Banshees of Inisherin poster and be like, one, it looks pretty because it's got the ocean. I don't have any windows. And two, it's a nice it's a well done poster. It's not like photoshopped heads on a poster. It's like it's a still, and it's composed well. Like I can appreciate the movie poster art for what it is, and have that connection to the film itself. So,
well, there's a lot of discourse around this, and I wonder what you guys' take is on it. Where like, in this movie addressed it a little bit, where they were like, "This is like real art, like this is raw, and like it's present." And I feel like in our movie critic community, sometimes people get that, and I definitely had it in my younger days, where the big blockbusters, because they're big blockbusters and because they were made to make money, inherently can't be as valuable as a student art film or an art house movie, because those weren't made to make money. They were made to be real and raw and convey something, and therefore were more valuable than an Avengers. And I feel like we're hearing some of this discourse now. Do you guys agree with that? I mean, I don't, is where I land on it. I think that an Avengers movie can be just as impactful and valuable to you as an art piece as, 28 seconds of a cockroach.
For the listener at home, I'm pointing to my Spider-Man 2 poster. Like, yes,
really, the answer we need, yeah.
Like Spider-Man 2 can't, like, yes, it was made to make more money, but it doesn't do the thing where it's like, we're going to put all of these villains in here to sell toys. That Spider-Man 3 does. Because you get Sandman, you get Venom, and you get New Goblin. And they're all there to sell toys. The Transformers movies are notorious for that. Like, there are those franchises that they're not going to get much art out of. But at the same time, like, to make Optimus Prime, you have to have so many artists to do that. So it's not going to be fine art. It's not going to be like fine dining, but sometimes all you want is a cheeseburger from McDonald's or a chicken nugget.
That's fair, man. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
You feel that same way, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I fall down on that. I mean, one of my favorite cartoons as a kid was the Ninja Turtles, the original series, and that only existed for them to sell toys. Flat out, like.
Have you
watched? This is why they made that, because they wanted to sell these action figures. I'm holding Michelangelo right now. They wanted to sell figures, and the best way to do that was to have a cartoon, G.I. Joe, all that stuff. And was it like, were there other shows on for kids that probably would be a lot better for them? Yes, you found them on PBS. But anyway, those I would say were actual art, like art as in like show, media type thing. Artists had to draw these turtles and soldiers and all these other things. So, like Alan said, like there is art going in it, but at the end of the day, it's like art that's mass-produced or art that's actually like, it's supposed to be like conveying meaning. And it's like, well, there's room for both. Like, there's room for both for people to enjoy. That's my thing.
And I don't think mass-produced art doesn't necessarily convey meaning.
Did I say that?
Kind of.
No, we've all been kind of alluding towards it.
Yeah.
So like, you get this in the actual art community, you get this thing of like, do you have the original or do you have a print? And like, oh, if it's a print of Van Hoff's Starry Night, for example, it's, oh, well, that's something that everyone's got. I've got it on one of my credit cards, therefore it's not as valuable of a piece of art, but it can still have meaning for you, I think.
Yeah, like this thing here.
That is art. You can't say that it's mass-produced art.
This is just a print. Like, this is not original from the movie or anything, but it looked cool, so I bought it. This, on the other hand, the Spider-Man 2 poster behind me, for movie posters, that would be considered art because it's double-sided. It's the original theatrical poster that you would see at the theater, and they do reprints of them that are single-sided, and you can buy that are mass-produced. That I have a few of, or like but that's the original. Like, that's the And I have a weird combination of the two as well. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, what I meant by the difference between like mass-produced and not like mass-produced is just trying to put them in two separate camps, because even though like Devin was saying, like an art house film, I'm not going to put in the same category as a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody find as much meaning in Endgame as they can in some art house movie? Yes, they can. It's just the assumption is that one is inherently more than the other, and it's a wrong perception.
I think it's unfair to compare a movie like Velvet Buzzsaw to Avengers Endgame. Because, well, I'm trying to think the best way to put this.
Yeah.
With Avengers Endgame, like Endgame in particular, you have 10 years of movies before that build up to this thing. So you have that connection with those characters. You know who Tony Stark is. You know who Captain America is. You know who Peter Quill is. Like, you know who all these characters are. So you're getting the emotional benefits of those connections that you've built over 10 years. Whereas with Velvet Buzzsaw, it's like, oh, hey, Jake Gyllenhaal. Like,
oh, hey, Tony Collette.
Yeah. So it's like, when you compare it from, like, you have all the baggage of a series compared to a standalone film, there's going to be a little bit of a difference there on how you connect to it.
100% behind you on that statement.
I think what I'm ultimately saying here, guys, is that some people can read War and Peace and come away thinking it's a simple adventure story. Others can read the ingredients on a chewing gum wrapper and unlock the secrets of the universe.
Okay. So, yeah.
That was for Alan, by the way.
That was. You know what today is, right?
No, what's today?
Today is the Superman anniversary.
I'm so glad I did that.
I wish I had moved my Superman poster behind me for today, but the Spider-Man analogy worked very well for today's conversation. So,
okay, so yeah, so to me the catalyst on the whole artist seeing the art and the people being killed off because they're trying to sell it like pieces of stock is the very end where they show the one artist just making circles in the sand with a stick because he's doing it for himself. Like the one lady also has like a realization moment, the one that this movie's basically named after, Velvet Buzzsaw, where she tells him, look, you go to my beach house and you just make art for yourself and just do it for you. I don't care about anything else. Like, we've been friends. And you don't see him again until like the credits. And I was actually wondering about him at the end of the movie. Like, well, what happened to him? Did he just go off? Like, what happened? And then he's like, oh, he's happy. He's just making circles. He's making circles in the sand. Yeah, and that's where this whole conversation boils down to what Devin said at the beginning, is like, this movie had a very straightforward premise.
Yeah.
Now, to get to a fan theory that I have, the Stranger Things actress, I feel like there is a connection here because she was the last person to see the people before they die. And she's the one that realized, not in the one case, but she's the first one to find them pretty much in every step. Now, I don't know if like she was supposed to be like the one dragging the plot along, like the connective tissue between everything, because she works for the two different art dealers. She works for them, and then she ends up working for Jake Gyllenhaal's character towards the end. So I like to think that there is a connection between her and what's going on. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet. My mind hasn't made a drastic connection yet, but it might at some point.
Here's a theory for you. In the 1980s, she lived in a town in Indiana where a lot of weird shit happened.
On board.
I'm not bringing Stranger Things into this. It's too easy.
She was the descendant of the guy who killed the original witches in Salem. Is that the right?
So the car that Don John was driving is a 1971 Centron.
Okay.
And perfect pick for a character that is completely vain. Just saying right now.
These are the Ryan facts that I like, because that sentence made zero sense to me. Tell me anything about that.
Okay. So a Centron is a French-made car. The car that he was driving is very, very rare. And fits a character that is completely vain, like he is. The whole like we have analytics. We make sure that every artist gets like the most profit for all of this other stuff. So of course a guy like that is going to drive around a museum piece of automotive history as his daily driver in LA. There's that's part of that character.
What did Jake Gyllenhaal pick as his car? I need to know now that you brought it up. Is that a good choice?
For him, yeah. For his character, for everything, I thought it was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So
can I ask a question quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you think Jake Gyllenhaal, what's the first movie you think of that's not this?
My memory is really bad right now, so I'm this is all I can think of at the moment.
That's fine. Devin, how about you?
It's Donnie Darko.
Okay. For me, it's Spider-Man, Far From Home.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't really know if I've seen Jake Gyllenhaal in much else. I've never seen Nightcrawler. I've never seen Donnie Darko. Yeah.
There was a boxing movie with him too that I saw and liked.
Southpaw. Southpaw. That's it. Yeah.
Southpaw was good.
Yeah.
I think I saw it because it was filmed in Pittsburgh.
And I never saw Brokeback Mountain. So.
No, I didn't either. It's coming to the West End. I can't wait to see it.
The play?
Yeah, it is a play with music. It's not a musical. It's a play with music.
So they play with music.
It's got to be that. It's got to be. It goes on, and there's some sad cowboy in the back with a guitar, and that's all that happens.
Okay, so Cool. We covered the meaning of this movie and that type of stuff. So let's just get into the like typical horror movie stuff that some people only care about. What was your favorite artisan death?
Oh, it was Velvet Buzzsaw because I felt that.
Yeah. Okay,
Like I did this after I watched her go because she gets like her tattoo on the back of her neck is in the shape of a buzzsaw, and ostensibly it cuts all the way through her neck. And while it was going, I was like rubbing the back of my neck, going, "Oh."
For me, it's a toss up between the robot and the giant silver bean thing.
Yeah.
Because what I like about the bean thing is you have her dead body laying there, and kids come in through the tour at the museum and just think it's part of the art piece and start playing in her blood. I'm like, that's messed up, but I'm here for it. Like that would be considered art. Like there's that. It reminded me of that robot that's function is to pull the hydraulic fluid back towards itself so it can keep going, and it just does that endlessly. It's just always cleaning up the mess, but it will never be clean because it just keeps spilling.
That is horrific.
Yeah,
it eventually died too.
Yeah,
like it was a one-time piece that it eventually ran out of fluid because it couldn't keep up. Yeah.
Well, now
I think it lasted for a few months.
It lasted for a few years, I think.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that gets to.
And you wonder why people are upset about AI, like.
Yeah. That gets to that moment with the kids coming in and everyone thinking that her armless body in a pool of blood with blood sprayed all over the place was part of the art exhibit. There's a second part of that joke in this movie, and yes, it's a joke, where the guy that drives the Centron, the tool, for lack of a better term, he walks into the one artist's studio and just sees a pile of trash bags in the middle of the floor and goes up to it and goes, "This is amazing. This is great work." And he just looks back and goes, "That's garbage."
It's not the art.
My favorite one is probably the weirdest, and it's the wannabe art dealer. She gets stuck in the graffiti in the wall.
Yeah.
Because it was just like it brings the supernatural element in the movie to an extreme that doesn't even make sense for me. Like I get that, and in the movie I didn't say this, but he was using his own blood for like the really, really dark reds in the paintings.
Yeah.
And so that supposedly is what makes any art around his pieces come to life. So it's not just his pieces, it's any piece of art can come to life. And it was like, I get it. Like the one guy gets pulled into the art by the monkeys. Like he gets killed by the monkeys working on the car. She, you've got the one character gets her arm ripped off by the silver bean where you're supposed to put your arm in and feel stuff. And, all of that kind of makes sense. This, though, stretches belief in this movie to a point where she's waiting for a tow truck and the graffiti behind her opens up into an art gallery. And she turns around and goes, obviously it wasn't there before. She would have noticed it was there before, and stupidly goes in anyway and is going around. And as she's passing these graffiti art pieces inside this fake art gallery, the paint bleeds and attaches to her and literally absorbs her to the point where they show it later that there's like a ghost image of her in the graffiti in the wall screaming.
It was really cool and very unique for a horror movie.
Yeah, but like I said too, and I'm pretty sure you guys would agree with this, that was probably the biggest stretch in the movie for like the powers that the paintings had. I'm not sure. Well, maybe you guys don't have that same opinion, but
no, I think that's fair.
I mean, going by the logic of the movie, yeah, I would say that is the most sci-fi-esque of the kills.
Yeah.
Because the first one is pretty much just Jumanji. So
it is. It really is, though.
Yeah. The first one's Jumanji.
So this begs the question then: if you guys could get pulled into any art piece in the world, what would it be? I have my answer right. Is it the Spider-Man 2 poster? Alan?
So, mine is, and I forget the name of the artist, and I feel bad about it, but in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, his friend stares at the little boy in the painting of the people in the park by the lake. That one.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called? Saturday Afternoon in the Park?
Isn't it Sunday in the Park? Isn't that a
Maybe.
Monet?
Yeah, I think it is
Oh
Monet.
yeah, no, it is a Monet because it's really nice when you're far back, but it's just a big old mess when you get up close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want you
Devin,
to
I'm
know that
sad.
you're all wrong. All of your answers are not correct. The correct answer is Coolidge's 1984 The Poker Game, with the dogs playing poker. That's
I'm
the
not.
only right answer
I'm
to
not
this
playing
question.
poker. I'm
I-
not.
How are they holding
sorry.
those cards? They don't have
I'm
thumbs.
automatically not liking it because you didn't get my Clueless reference, so I'm just.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
I would
Yeah.
much rather get pulled into the Star Trek versions of that, where it's the next gen crew playing poker around the table.
That's fair.
Okay, so my last thing
Mhm.
about this movie has to do with just the way that this movie, the name of the movie, and the tattoo on her neck, and how she dies. I would argue that the main character in this is the main art dealer, which is the lead actress, I believe. What Devin, you named Alan, you named her when we started the episode.
Rene Russo.
Rene Russo, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah. She plays the main art dealer that everyone else kind of goes to because she's the one that's been doing this the longest. They mentioned that she was in a punk band back in the early 80s, and she gave that up to become an art dealer because that she went to school for art. And the name of her band was Velvet Buzzsaw, and they show on 2 occasions the tattoo on the back of her neck at the start of the film that says Velvet Buzzsaw, and the one time they, focus in on it. And I love the fact that before, like, towards the middle half, like the tail end of the middle half of the movie, they show a piece of art in her bedroom that she, like, gets freaked out by and, like, takes off the wall, of a woman sitting cross-legged with a cat next to them with shadows in front of her, and it's the image on the painting is the exact scene they show right before the tattoo on the back of her neck starts to spin.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
One
I
of
never
the
caught
things
that connection.
one of the things I did not do for this movie was look up meaning, because I loved the whole art facet of this.
Yeah.
And art is supposed to be the way you interpret it on yourself. That's what makes, arguably, you can make anything art as long as someone can get their own feeling and meaning towards it. So,
well, on that note, I did look up some trivia for this, and
okay.
Dan Gilroy was asked by Vanity Fair what he wants audiences to take away from the film. He said, "I hope people look at art in a slightly different way. Anytime you listen to a piece of music or look at a sculpture or a painting or a film, you realize that the artists behind that have invested what I believe to be their creative soul into their work. To me, that's a bit of a sacred thing, and I think we've lost that a little bit. I would love it if we could return to that." So, acknowledging the art that goes into art, like the effort, and like, to get meta for a second, this podcast isn't just us talking. Like, it does take some effort on our part to put together. Like, we're not only dedicating time to watch the movies, but we're, like, at least on my end, I'm getting everything together, making memes, art for the show, editing it together, and putting it out there. So it does take a part of me to do. And like, I usually don't ask Devin and Ryan for much of it, unless I'm not going to be here, because I can handle it all. But it does take some time, and there are days where I'm just like, I need a break. I almost just didn't come on the show today. I was like, I'm exhausted. I need a break. But even little things, anything you consume, like, there's effort put into that. So always remember that.
Well, and it's such a good thing to remember, because you get these, like, movies that people are like, it's a hacky movie, it's awful. It's like, there are also people that dedicated real time, real effort into making this thing that you then just completely dismissed.
Yeah. And I feel like her character then after he said that, I feel like her character is a perfect analogy for that statement he gave to Vanity Fair, because she was in a punk band in the early 80s that was notorious for, you know, a certain culture, a certain outlook, certain ideals, and then she sold out.
Yeah.
She sold out and went corporate. And they refer back to that a few times where the artist from The Collective, he even mentions that. He's like, yeah, no, your early work was great, but then you started caring too much about like what people think. Like that's pretty much what he told her, and she was like, yeah, I've heard that before, I don't care.
Yeah,
it's the best way to think about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought this movie was interesting.
Yeah.
I figured you guys would like Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, at least, if you didn't like the actual movie.
Listen, Ryan, I like the movie. I'll give you a hug next time. I liked it.
Okay, well, I'm happy. I figured a movie like this would have been better in this type of a context than me just going, yeah, I saw this movie about a horror movie about supernatural art that kills people. It was great.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good. That's all I really have.
So next week it'll be Devin's pick. Devin, what are you having us watch? And can I? Okay, go ahead.
No. What were we gonna say?
I think I know what genre you're picking from because I heard a little bit of last week's show.
What genre am I picking from?
Is it a Western?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Never mind.
Listen, guys, I have two things to say. First off, I lied at the beginning of we watched this. I did in fact watch something. In fact, I watched two somethings. And I'm going to make you watch one of them and optionally two of them next week. It is arguably the show that we've been building up to for years. It is Sir Nicolas Cage's favorite movie. Guys, next week we're doing Paddington 2. Optionally Paddington 1 if you want to.
Okay. I'll allow it.
I cannot wait for you guys to watch this movie. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Okay.
Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
So different. It'll blow your mind, Ryan.
I know it's not. I know it's not, Devin. I know that. Winnie the Pooh's yellow and wears a red shirt. Paddington Bear wears a blue hat. They are completely different people.
So different. Those shirts are different.
And they're not even people. I mean, they're stuffed bears.
And one of them cares about honey, the other one cares about marmalade. Totally different food groups, all right?
Save it for next week, guys. Save it for next week. Until next time, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, listen to all of our podcasts on wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And we will see you next week.
Okay. Nailed it. It was really good, guys. Has it been a pain to sync up?